Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome into another episode of Vision Pros Live. I'm your show host, Jackson Callum, founder and CEO of First Class Business. And I'm so excited to interview Scott Simson today. This is somebody who has more than 1 billion views on his content. He's got tons of subscribers on YouTube. He's one of those individuals who, on his Facebook feeds, when he's posting in his LinkedIn posts, he doesn't just post what he's accomplished. He's posting how you can do it too, and gives you step-by-step guidance. He's one of those true leaders that understands the value of really serving and also collaborating as well. We've got some mutual overlap that can be disconcerting for certain types of leaders, but Scott and I are the type of people who we're like, no way, the more the merrier. We can all help each other win in this process. And so there's some really, really neat things. I'm actually invested in their program, AI Mavericks. I am one of the AI Mavericks. I pay a very small amount every single month. I think it's $60 a month to be able to participate in their programs where him and Austin Armstrong, who also has more than 1 million subscribers, are there guiding us on what's the latest with AI. And they simply choose one thing per month that we're going to implement this system for AI. And first week's implementation, second week is another round of implementation to make sure we do this the right way. Third week is show and tell, and then they choose as a community, we get to choose who's the winner. And then the fourth week, that person gets to showcase what it is they built. And then the cycle repeats. I love that model. What an awesome way to help us get in the game, make sure that we're focusing on the right things. And they also understand the value of connecting with other great AI leaders in order to make great things happen. And so without further ado, Scott is not here today, my friends, and that's okay. This is what happens when you have millions of subscribers and followers in order to help. So we're going to maximize leveraging some of the things that they've already taught me, and I'll, of course, work with Scott on getting him back in so that we can talk even further about actions that he has. But we're also building out the AI marketplace by First Class Business, and we're going to have a community that's very, very similar to this. And I want you to think of this as kind of like language learning. You're learning Spanish and you're learning French. And if you happen to live in the Spain, France area, that's a really, really good idea. AI is a little bit more important than that. I would say it's more like taking vitamins too. Now, you don't just need vitamin C, you also need vitamin D. There are lots of opportunities with it in different ways. While they're exploring high levels, like really extreme ways of implementing AI, the AI marketplace is to help both the people who want to build that way and the people who are beginners or newer with it that don't understand how is AI going to work in relation to my profession and how is it going to work in relation to my business. That's what the AI marketplace is all about. We are still a little bit premature with the launch, but I'm going to give you the link anyway. You'll be one of the first people to see it. It's ai.firstclassbusiness.io. You can go and see it for yourself. In fact, I'll show you a little bitty sneak peek tour of what it has here. And the biggest and most important opening message for everybody you know and love is to remember that you are already an AI expert. You've been using AI without knowing it subconsciously for many years. You've been interacting with it. You've been training it. And it's not at a subconscious level where you won't know how to use it. In fact, that's the whole point of why we built the AI marketplace, is so that you don't just see the hidden timeline, but you can actually see, how do my skills translate to being able to put them on my resume and to be able to talk in a professional way about what it is I can do with AI. How do I stay relevant in this job market where those who don't get on the bandwagon, they don't realize this asset that exists, this resource. I mean, this would be like cavemen ignoring the value of fire. You don't want to be that person. You can still live and you'll probably still make it, through some seasons and maybe even through life. But what a hard way to live if you choose not to adopt the technology and tools that you have at your disposal. And I want to make sure that we empower as many people as possible with that. So this is going to launch with 50 founding members. That's what we're going to bring in, 50 founding members who pay $50 a month or a $500 one-time fee, not for the year. That's what you usually do in marketing is let's get them for the year on that. No. I want to give it for a lifetime for being that bold to commit and join us. I also want to do something super special, not just for the 50 founding members, but for the 10 originals, the OGs that join us to get this whole process jump-started. So the neat thing is it's going to guide you down. Well, do I need to be in the professional track where I'm learning how to position myself as a professional, or am I a business that has bottlenecks? And guys, there's so much hype around AI right now. And I guess my voice kind of sounds like it. I'm excited though. I'm not trying to hype this up. I'm trying to help you see that there is great advantages to learning how to use these tools really well and get ahead of the market in this process, because it can free you up. It can allow you to accomplish more. Do you see the paradox in that? So if you choose to allow it to accomplish more, it can burn you out as well. So make sure to balance that with the idea of also freeing yourself up and embracing the freedom that it gives you. So both of these lead to what we call audits. And for instance, I'm going to go down the route of taking the shadow audit, and this will show you your skills that you already have related to AI that you might take for granted, but learning how to speak about these realities of, okay, I proofread work for errors before sending. I hope most of us do, if not all of us, but that's called quality feedback. And when you learn to speak about this professionally, you get paid to be a professional. That's the beauty of learning the language even further. And then we've got this other asset down here, the guide to professional AI positioning. This is going to help you revamp your LinkedIn in 15 minutes. It will help you revamp your resume, and it will also teach you in interviews what to do with that. Again, the same type of system exists for the entrepreneurs in this process. And as I mentioned, we're going to be launching this with the 50 first members at $50 a month and $500 one time. Somebody wants to join, and the next round will be $100 a month with a one-time offer for $1,000 for those who want to join in and not pay the monthly subscription. But I just want you guys to take a look at all that's going to come from this. I want you to have the opportunity to join us by our side in this. And of course, we're going to be taking this to incredible heights. The dashboard is something that we might even go into as well. But let's go back to some of the principles of what Scott and I are both going to bring to the table today on supercharging our content results. My friends, the reality of supercharging content is not about getting on what we call the content treadmill. Years ago, they used to say that content was king. I don't believe that. I never saw it work. Great content is king. There's a huge difference in being able to be valuable and how you present your content and not. So with the content and driving results that are actionable, I would highly recommend diving into using Claude right now. Claude is crushing it as an AI. The results, the styles, the implementation, the optimization, the ability to correct me and fight with me a little bit. It actually cursed at me the other day, yesterday. I was like, oh, well, and I got a little argument. I said, if you're gonna curse at me, then you better be on point. And it wasn't. And I was like, okay, you're right. I was out of line. And I didn't want to shut it down in that behavior. That's not a good thing to do to team members. It's not a good thing to do to your kids. It's not a good thing to do to anybody. That just creates animosity, and it creates friction, and it creates fear. And so then people don't perform. But again, if it's going to be aggressive with me, then it's got to be aggressively on point as well. And so these systems, they're getting very, very intelligent, and including emotional intelligence. Otherwise, it wouldn't bother using a cuss word. And so in this episode, as we talk about AI content systems, one of the greatest things that you can do is just slow down and realize if you know how to ask great questions, and most of us don't get in your high horse. Most of us don't. If you know how to ask great questions, you can extract excellent results from AI. If you do not go into the depths of asking great questions, you will get lackadaisical, lackluster, general results from AI. And if you want to have the same results in life as the general public has, then stick with general results. But if you want to have a life that rises above what is generally acceptable in life, then you've got to be willing to do what it takes to get to those levels. And so one super simple solution to helping you improve your AI content systems is when you ask it for something. Hey, can you help me on a content system in order to attract more leads through Facebook or LinkedIn or Instagram? Ask it, what questions should I ask you in order to prepare myself for the best results possible? That's step number one. Make sure to ask it to ask you questions about the project. Just like you would ask an intern, hey, do you understand the project? And if not, what questions do you have? Fortunately, it's like a superpower intern that when you do that, it unlocks new levels of understanding that it otherwise will not unlock. It'll just try to appease you. Why? Because the general public just wants appeased. You've got to step out of that behavior and into a more executive intellect, and it will follow your lead on that. Step two, when it gives you back those questions and it starts to present the questions to you, ask it again, almost a similar question, but use the phrase, tell me more about that, when you don't fully understand things or when you want it to dive deeper. Step three, ask it for research and case studies that back the direction that it's putting you on, and tell it, or give me a new solution if this does not align with provable case studies. it will almost always redesign what it builds. That's not AI trying to trick you into failure. That's not AI trying to lose. That's AI being almost human in nature. And what do I mean by that? We have a tendency to jump to conclusions as human beings. We want to get things done and move on. We don't want to sit there and do research and go back and forth with data. We want to just move things forward. Well, AI knows that. So AI plays into that for our sake so that it doesn't get canceled. It's also got a job to keep you subscribed on a monthly basis. So it's going to tell you what you want to hear, even to your own dismay. And so you've got to be really careful with that part of creating these AI content systems. Ask great questions. It will change the game for you in ways that no other tactics can, because you're not leaning into a tactic at that point. You're leaning into leadership principles. So when it comes to creating a business, creating distribution for your brand, or scaling content, follow that exact same framework for doing all three of those things. And I would say more important than all of that, make sure you're working with experts. Experts can guide you in ways that you won't think through and that AI won't think through. It doesn't have the ability to work at what I call a senior strategist level. At the most, it can be a junior strategist for you and what you're up to. And so I actually did a little process today, thanks to a message I got via email. We get a lot of messages these days via email, probably 3 to 5 per day, of people saying, hey, Jackson, or hey, First Class Business, or hey, Vision Pros Live, we can help you build your YouTube channel out. We can help you solve some of the mistakes and problems that you have. And if you go to our YouTube channel, you'll see that we don't focus a lot of attention on the amount of views that we get, but that's also not good. We happen to be a top 5% global podcast. We have some of the best ratings in Podmatch on, and thank you, Alex Sampolipo, for an amazing platform. Podmatch is incredible for those of you in the podcasting space. That's a way better hack than almost anything else I can possibly give you. Is go on Podmatch, become part of it as a guest, as a host, or as both, like we are. And the guests rate us as one of the best podcast experiences they possibly have. But that's not reflected in our YouTube numbers. We've got small amounts of views. And so we get these I shouldn't call them spam mails, but we get job applications in the form of independent contractors who want to help us fix our YouTube. And today I thought, you know what? I'm going to take a screenshot of this email from this wonderful person who wanted to spam us along with other podcasters to help them. I'm going to give that to Claude. And I'm going to ask Claude, can you create a new plan for us for YouTube so that we can get the views that we want? It's time to make sure that our viewership is rising. And so, of course, there's all sorts of pieces in that. I'm going to show you guys exactly what it was able to do for us. So let me find that Claude conversation. Where are you at, buddy? There we are. All right. So now here we are. And I'm going to show you how fast this process worked. And why did it work this fast? Because I've trained my personal knowledge assistant, or AKA Claude. I've put tons of hours into making sure to train AI, and I have a whole documentation process on that too. So it knows me, it knows my standards, it knows my values, it knows my professionalism, it knows that we're very big on love, patience, persistence, consistent reliability. You skip that process, you're not going to get this level of work out of it. But what's cool is because I've trained it super well, like I'm training it for one of the best companies in the world as a world-class employee or team member, it's able to produce world-class results. So I said visionproslive.com does indeed struggle tremendously on YouTube. We need to fix that and ramp up views and subscribers. Please do extremely good research and find out how we can do this. I'm tired of having a stellar brand that operates way too far in the shadows. What do we need to prioritize? Every episode should have dozens of views at minimum, but we're hardly driving any right now. And so I sent it the little email that triggered this process as well for context. And it went through and it built for me a phenomenal plan for the growth strategy that I can then hand off to my team and plan and train with them. And of course, we can look at using AI agents to help with the process, but the human beings have to really understand it first for the AI to go in the right direction and stay in the right direction. So that took me all of like maybe 2 minutes to do. And then after that process, I said, you know what, Claude, please work through all the retitles as best you can. This would be extremely helpful. And then I walked away. I didn't look at it. I spent literally 15 seconds on this one. And it came back with not just the retitles. And so let's switch gears and go over there. Share this tab instead. It went through my entire catalog on YouTube and showed us the current title and created what title we should have in place in order to optimize these channels. Now, we have to reference check this. It might get some of this wrong. Again, it operates like a senior level intern or a junior strategist. So we need to make sure that it's on point, but I have a very good feeling that it is. And so all these episodes It's just now I just have a virtual assistant go in, and one of my virtual assistants or executive assistants on our team can go in and copy and paste, copy and paste, copy and paste, and get this whole process done in order to make sure that people who aren't finding us through search now can start to find us. And as it says here, because it's kind of an overwhelming amount of episodes, we've got close to 3,000. Start with the highest priority, retitling the 20 to 30 most recent or the best performing episodes, which you can easily sort by in YouTube as well. These are high level opportunities to be able to dive in. Let me see here. There we go. Got you guys back. To dive in quickly and make optimizations that do actually move the needle for our brands. And so knowing how to talk to AI about those opportunities is huge. How do we design AI powered content systems that actually performed? I think we've crushed that right now. I'd love your feedback too, my friends. We're all learning from each other in this process. So if you know something, any types of principles that you lean into that help with this process or tactics, by all means, feel free to leave those here with us. The difference between automation and strategy. And so, I think a lot of people look at these words and make superficial or surface level commitments to following them, kind of like integrity. It's like everybody who do you think would ever admit like I don't have integrity? I don't know a single person who would say that, and I don't know a single person that I would say doesn't have integrity at all. There's probably people out there who would accuse others of that reality, but in essence, it's not an all or nothing process. I'd rather look at that from the standpoint of, okay, for my AI strategy or for my integrity, the same principle applies. How do I level up my integrity, my commitment to be a person with integrity? How do I level up my ability to use AI, to use automation, or to use strategy? And if we're hiding from that, it usually comes in the form of like, oh, I already have integrity. Oh, I already know how strategy works. Oh, I'm already working on automation. Those statements shoot down growth opportunities. Those are statements that put us in what's called a limiting mindset, a position of scarcity where we're just protecting what it is we have rather than being open and willing for growth opportunities. So there's a massive difference in automation and strategy, and there's a massive difference in successful automation and busy work. They say busy is broke, productive is profitable. And so how do we switch from creating automations that make us busy to creating automations that help us become productive? Wouldn't that be a phenomenal question to ask AI as well? You get the entire world's worth of collective answers on that. You can even say, I want you to lean into definitions based on some of the most successful people in the world. But if you don't define that, it's going to assume it knows what you mean success is. You also want to say in AI, how do you define success? Or can you help me work on my own ability to define what success means to me? These are huge opportunities to unpack extra levels of growth for yourself. So turning content into scalable revenue engines. That is not the easiest thing in the world to do, but AI is definitely making it way easier. I'm a big believer, my friends, that teamwork makes the dream work. I don't want to do anything without a team, even in this world of AI. It's so helpful and important to have different perspectives. And I think of it kind of like flying a plane too. It's like you got a pilot. Why does he need a co-pilot? Well, he doesn't necessarily need a co-pilot, but it's a really good idea because now you've got more ears, more eyes, more experience, different circumstances that pop up. I imagine that most pilots understand the incredible value of their co-pilots. I see so many solopreneurs running the path of entrepreneurship, and they think we don't see it. Most of us see it. It's not pretty. It's not going to lead to the types of results that you want. So, if we want to create content that leads to scalable revenue engines, it's important for us to have people by our side who can help us fly the plane and who we can empower to run certain divisions of that. And of course, if we were to ask AI what to do, it would probably lean into things like key performance indicators, setting OKRs, objectives, and key results. It would probably teach you some things you might not know. And that's your opportunity to lean back into the framework we talked about before. Tell me more about that. Right? Help me understand, what other questions can I ask? Oh, I didn't understand those terms. Can you break that down for me, as a normal human being who doesn't have a master's degree in business, or in development or in scalable revenue engines, right? Those are all opportunities to lean in. My friends, do yourself a favor, do the best you can to stay balanced in this process, not get overwhelmed with all the things we don't know. The dictionary is like this big. I probably know like a tenth of it. Right? I don't need to be overwhelmed by the fact that I don't have all of those words memorized. We don't need to be overwhelmed by the fact that wherever we're at in life, that's where we're meant to be usually. I say usually to protect those who may be in a tough circumstance that might be a little bit hard to hear. But for most of us, like I think it's pretty easy to accept that we're in a position that we're supposed to be in, and that's okay. And let's dig out of our hole or move forward with our processes, whatever it is, and let's just worry about what we can control in the moment and in today and implement and move forward. So as far as scalable revenue engines, one of the greatest things you can do if you're already in a position where revenue is coming in is use AI as a guide to help you figure out your own CRO, your conversion rate optimization. What is my path for conversion rate optimization based on the assets that I have? Give it your landing pages, give it your websites, give it all the assets that you have. Again, if you don't use the principles from earlier and you don't work with a strategist, you're probably going to end up off in left field and with a half-baked answer that doesn't do a whole lot of good for your reputation as you scale. So it's very important to combine those elements. But if you want to know how to haphazardly just run and go with it, those are very, very easy ways to make sure that you're improving the scalability of your revenue engines. All right. Avoiding common AI implementation mistakes. Oh man, there's so many. Once again, work with an expert. Also, I would say don't worry about avoiding it too much either. Lean in and make mistakes. Just like a trumpet player or any musician has to make mistakes. Don't be scared of failure, as Stephen Bartlett of Diary of a CEO puts it. He says embarrassment is the gate. To get into a successful life, you have to be willing to embarrass yourself and fall on your face. I would just be again very careful if you're in the later stages of life. You're highly emotionally intelligent. You've got things that are scaling or that are already stable in your life. Um, AI can be a great disruptor for situations like that. So use your same intelligence to continue to see, well, how do I use this tool in a way that further stabilizes me? Minimizing the risks and asking it to also minimize those risks. But again, one of the greatest ways to do that is to make sure that you are working with experts who understand the value of doing the exact same. Um, what does the future hold for AI driven business growth? I unlocked this with Scott Simson and Mike Waltzman. I wish I remembered his name, but it's recorded in AI Mavericks. You join AI Mavericks, you get to see it. They were teaching us about OpenClaw in a 2-hour session, how to use OpenClaw, which is ultimately the ability to take an AI and to give it a task that most AIs can't do, like running your email inbox and actually having it run that and setting up on its own computer to do so. Some of you are like, I already know this, Jackson. Others have never heard of that actually happening before, but it's a phenomenal way to hire executive assistants, if you will, without having to have the cost of an executive assistant. And there's lots of great ways that you can train these systems to be able to manage social media, help grow YouTube channels, for instance, publish content for you, create proposals. There's so many different applications. Let me give you a really, really, really big one. So the things that aren't just coming down the pipeline, but that are being implemented throughout the world right now. Mike revealed that because I was pushing, I was like, man, I want to build images. And I don't want to create things that make me busy. I want to create things that make me productive. And he's like, okay. He said, I'm a SaaS founder, and I've got a SaaS service that I need quality assurance testing on and conversion rate optimization for. So he gave his AI agent, access as a brand new user of his SaaS platform and asked it to run a quality assurance assessment to see what optimizations could be made in order to improve the experience for other new users who come in. That is phenomenally brilliant. And it could run that over and over and over. He then trained it to prepare the necessary adjustments, optimizations for it, so that he could then, as a human being, evaluate and see which adjustments he was going to accept and approve and which ones weren't that great of an idea. And I think so many of us want AI to be perfect that we have a little bit of an all or nothing mentality, like, it's not going to be able to help me on that. But even if it solves 5 out of 10 realities and is able to then produce those into your minimum viable product to help your launch process and to improve your lifetime value and to make sure that you don't have a high attrition rate in the beginning, like that is gold. And every major experienced SaaS founder knows that. You're like, oh my gosh, I'm running with this and using it right now. These are the types of things that, again, visionaries, they might be a little bit over your head. You might not know, well, how does that apply to my business? I'm telling you, there's a very good way that applies for every business on the planet. That's why I'm sharing it. And if you don't know how to do that, it's super important to lean into the experts around you. I'm going to take a little break to gather my thoughts. Those of you who aren't podcast hosts, when you have a guest, it's very, very helpful when they get to talk because you get to gather your thoughts. But when you're doing a solo show, you just fly. You just rattle off, but then you don't have time to reset yourself. And so I do hope a lot of you also lean into this world of podcasting. There's an amazing opportunity at hand to do that. It's not easy. It's not for everybody, but if you're prepared for it, you're willing to make the commitment to it, then by all means, lean into other podcasters who can help you. We got a program called First Class Podcasts as well, connecting podcasters to each other, whether they're hosts or guests. We're about to launch the Leadership Exchange every week to where we connect them so that we can get people on the right stages too. I had 2 abysmal podcast experiences yesterday. As a guest myself, and I was so floored at how bad some people's interview skills are, and how pretentious some people can be as well. And I don't mean to be pretentious myself in saying that. What I'm saying is like, no, we all have a lot to learn, but let's show up and be kind. Let's show up and give people the benefit of the doubt and help people, and let's not act like we're better than others just because we happen to have a platform. Again, these are little secrets that can help you as you grow, because I think the natural tendency, like Nate from Ted Lasso, is when you're given an opportunity and you're promoted to a position of authority, next thing you know, this inner ego comes out and starts to eat your success alive without you even realizing it. And it might even take you outside of your own personality and who you enjoy being. So it's a very important opportunity to remain in humility as we also grow what it is we're up to. And if any of you guys have questions, this would be the time to comment and let us know what those questions are. And of course, I will address those either now or afterwards in another show. So I will see you guys on the other side. All right. Welcome in to Vision Pros Live with Jackson Callum. I'm your show host. We will be doing interviews for visionary entrepreneurs and guest leaders who are building fantastic visions out there. All right, guys, I got a little bit of a reset. Thank you for that. And we're going to dive a little bit further in. So again, Scott Simson was not able to make it today. That does not take away the value of what he's able to provide. These podcast episodes, I think of them like little bitty books. And my greatest secret for being able to benefit from books is not to stick with the book itself, but is to actually contact the author and get a hold of that well of wisdom. And so we still have the same opportunity with what Scott's doing. I am a member of AI Mavericks, their program. And I'll have Vicky go ahead and show that a little bit while I continue to talk about this process of growth. Whether you're a founder, a marketer, or you're a growth leader, and you're looking to move beyond the content chaos and into structured, scalable systems, like this whole episode has been a process of helping you do just that. And again, I want to highlight these guys because they've done so much for me. I've been following Austin Armstrong ever since I met him at Social Media Marketing World last year. I think it was February or April. And when I met Austin, what really came across to me is how present he was. He was extremely locked into the relationships right in front of him. And he had no reason to be. He didn't know who I was. It was just Jackson. It was long hair Jackson. It's like he didn't know if I had a following or not. But his ability to just show up and be authentic was huge. And then I see him answer almost every single message on Facebook too. I'm like, how in the world does he do both of those things? And maybe it's an AI agent, but I don't think so. I see him showing up genuinely everywhere that he goes. And he partnered with Scott Simson, who I didn't know. And they launched this thing called AI Marketing World. And I've been studying and sometimes arguing with Austin about some of the depths of AI. And he doesn't get offended by it. He doesn't shoot people down. He's good at roasting people who roast him. I will say that. Don't go roast him. And you get in a battle with him. He'll fight back and defend himself on what he's up to. But at the end of the day, I love his leadership style and what he's up to. And so I ended up asking one of his workshop participants after they did a 3-day workshop how it went, and diving in with a phone call with her. That's reference checking, my friends. Like, this is important stuff to do in your life. And she also was just so humbled and grateful for all that Scott and Austin were able to do to help her with her growth initiative. She's not techie. She's more, I think she's over 60 years old, maybe over 70. And this person was building a Bible app. And I'd like to mention her, but I want to give her a better honor, and I'll do that on another show, because I was really impressed with the depth of character that she has. And I could see that these guys, they're not just running hype shows. They're fun. They know how to celebrate. They know how to make things awesome. They do know how to leverage hype as they want to, but they care, and they're driving deep success with and for the people that they're working with. And so I'm excited to have Scott on again in the future, and we'll get more insight from what he's up to. But one of my favorite things about talking to Scott too was, even though he's got all this ground and he's moving all this traction, we too are building out the AI marketplace. And I was a little bit nervous to reveal to him. I was like, Scott, um, I hope you're okay with us launching our own AI community, because we've been building one out as well. And he, like me, is really big into strategic collaborations and partnerships and empowering others, and realizing that, we don't control one specific territory, and it's not about taking from each other. A little bit of modeling goes into this, or a lot of bit of modeling, but at the end of the day, it's like two math professors who have different chalkboards, and because we're able to associate with each other, and because we trust each other, we can lean into each other and be like, hey, what math problems are you working on? And what math problems are you working on? And then we can both grow and be great together. So thanks for letting me put my nerdiness into this. Scott tends to be a little bit more charismatic, a little bit more fun, a little bit more um, built around everyday humor as well. And I think that really helps with that's why he's got 1 billion views. That's why he's got so many followers on Instagram and YouTube and etc. And so there's so many elements that we can learn from those who are moving along the same path that we are. And whether it's studying how he does his titles to how he does his graphic overlays. I love that he also puts step by step in his LinkedIn posts and in his Facebook posts exactly what he does. And he's got a SaaS company that helps you maximize the same type of flow as you're building out your channels as well. So let me go back into the actual reality of structured and stable systems. Okay. Um, Chaos and content chaos. There's a lot of people, especially realtors, that are trying to win with that model. Anybody in the independent contracting space, I see trying to win with that model. It's not a good look. It's not a good feel. It may get you some traction with people who are willing to do the same things, but most of those people don't have very much money to invest because they're not succeeding themselves. And I think if we're going to help the world really move the economic balance and make sure that we're creating people who are having success, we can't just continue to trick everybody into these small packages, and into undermining each other. Looking at how do I make the least amount of investment possible in the strategies that are supposed to bring my incredibly important vision and purpose to life. We've got to be more wise stewards than that, my friends. We've got to look at, what happens if you change that attitude and reality? So let's talk about that. I'll give two examples. One that comes to mind that's quite related, that you might miss the connections on, is called Paradigm Life. This is an infinite banking solution out of Utah. I don't know what that means, but I know we ran YouTube ads for them when I was at Video Power Marketing with Jake Larson, and they could invest quite heavily in that process. What was really neat was, as we launched the YouTube ads, these banking professionals, they saw their average order value, which means how much people purchased, and their lifetime value go up with the transactions from the people who saw the YouTube ads. Everybody was chasing after the YouTube leads. They wanted those phone calls more than other phone calls. So why did that happen? It wasn't because they were producing more content. It was because the quality of content was extremely good in that YouTube launch. And so there was more frequently asked questions addressed in that video. There was greater feeling of touch and personal belonging with the founder, with the brand, with the company. You could see, you could hear, you could feel, you could touch. That's coming, I'm sure. Within the next 50 years, we'll probably touch each other through the screen. But the ability to dive into creating high quality content, get that in front of your audience, and then have your audience interact with you after that, like I said, it increased their average order value and it increased their lifetime value of their customers, how long people stayed with them. We have the ability to slow down and put aspects like that into our life. And what it also does is it deters the people who want to buy fast as well. So that's another big challenge is if you're producing content that tricks people or that manipulates, coerces, or aggressively invites people to move forward, well, guess what? People who are quick to commit, they're also quick to cancel. And so what you end up with is a culture where loyalty is not a real thing. People are only staying for the superficial reasons. And then if you're trying to build a business based on that, you're always going to have this awkward ebbs and flows and difficult reality. It is a little bit harder on the front end to attract a quality relationship, right? Just like in marriage, just like in dating. If you go into a bar and you ask people, hey, you want to go Netflix and chill? Like you might win, but what is the risk associated with that? What is the cost of that? And then you end up in these relationships or these situations where cancel culture, is thriving. And on the flip side, if you go into communities and you ask people how they're doing and you really lean in and talk to them and you work with them to build what's called a transformational relationship, that's going to lead to a lot of those people who want the quick and the get rich quick stuff without saying it. What do they say? They don't say get rich quick. They say like things like, oh, I'm going to gain wealth fast, but I'm not going to call it get rich quick. In 7 steps, by the way, download this. Like that stuff only leads to superficial relationships. And so again, you're going to get turned down more often by shifting gears to holistic transformational relationships. But then when you do find, attract, cultivate, and build those relationships are far more permanent than the other type. So I hope you guys lean into that as you're supercharging your own content and trying to drive results. This is all incredibly actionable if you decide to take the action yourself and think they're okay. What are the things that Jackson said today that I can apply to my own self? Even if you only got the one thing out of it, which was how do I make sure to lean more into being strategic? How do I make sure that I protect myself with the automations that I create and find case studies related to creating automations that show productive results, not just busy work? Those little things right there can help every single one of you improve your life, improve your business, improve the results that you're getting. And that's exactly what we want to see for you today. So I'll wrap up at this point, my friends. If you need anything else, don't hesitate to ask us. Also, if you want to be a visionary on the show, if you want to share your vision with us, then in the top right corner of visionproslive.com, there's a button that says Be Our Guest. This is a great podcast to be a first-time podcast guest on as well. We don't pressure people. We just ask that you don't lie and invent things and create things that are a little bit beyond what it is that you do. Too many professionals try to use their authority or some false promise to posture themselves as greater than others. We don't like that. We will shoot that down. But if you come in and you talk to us about how you're helping the world and what it is that you're up to and how it is you're solving challenges for people, all of those realities, I can help facilitate our conversation into a lovely conversation that really brings great light to your vision. I'm here as a lighthouse. That's what I want to do. I want to shine the light for the people who need it most. And I hope that you all continue to do the same. Thanks for inspiring me to those people who've been my guests. Scott, I'm going to get you back on this show. That way we can record this episode for our audiences and get your insights on this. But my friends, I hope I was able to be helpful today in the insights that I gave you. Take care and God bless. Thank you for being here today. I'm really happy that you tuned in to Vision Pros Live. I'm looking forward to seeing your reactions as these episodes continue to move forward. This is going to get more and more fun. We'll have more and more engagement as well. We'll invite people to participate in the show. And thank you for giving us your time and attention. Have an excellent time building out your vision and becoming a vision